We are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Blake Ruffino. This is Are You Serious Sports? We hope that you are making it a good one. We know that we are as well. We have a jam-packed show for you tonight. LSU is the deepest team on defense in the SEC. Are they? We'll debate on that. We got a lot to talk about LSU's defense. They were horrid last year. They're coming back. A lot of true freshmen are making huge impacts so far on this defense. What am I hearing in reference to this defense, especially these young guys? We'll talk about that. Zach Pearson, the Mr. Zach Pearson, who used to join us on Thursdays, joins us tonight in his new slot on Wednesdays. We're going to dive very deep into LSU baseball. What is going good? What is going bad? And maybe what is going a lot to talk about. We might talk a little bit of the draft too. And the Masters is tomorrow. We got a lot to talk about. Nevertheless, we got some comments to get to before we get started. Blake Doucette says, hashtag who Mike Jones? Craig Schilling says, and we are live. Stephen Miller says, here we go. Kenny says, nothing like a little AYS with Blake after a long work day. Dylan Holly says, we are live. That we are, my good friend. Wade McBride with the best comment out the gate says, these folks need to start putting some damn respect on Coach O's name. Damn it. They better. You know, guys, I'm fired up tonight. I'm fired up. Everybody's sending the stars on Facebook. Everybody's sharing this to their feed. Everybody's sharing it to some Facebook groups. We're fired up. And we're going to get ready to go. Danny says, what's up, Blake? Let's go. What's going on, Danny? Brandon says, what's going on? What's going on with you, my brother? Austin Thibodeau says, and we are live. I think that's our slogan. We might need to get some T-shirts made saying, and we are live. I think I'm going to actually get back into that. Tony Weaver says, hashtag go Tigers with my Coach O pick facial expression. Hell yeah. We're going to talk a little defense. All right, guys, before we get started, we do have to do this. I'm not sure if you guys heard the news, but former LSU baseball player Cedric Harris' son, CJ, passed away this past week. We are going to do a moment of silence for CJ. We're going to play a little bit of a Amazing Grace tune while we do that. We're going to take about 20 seconds to take some time to remember CJ, to think about the family and the struggles and the things that they have going on. And we're going to be, thinking about them, praying for them. Children are the best of us. And I can only imagine what the Harris family's going through. So right now, before we get started, before we do anything else, we want to remember CJ Harris, Cedric Harris, and his family. So stay tuned. We're going to take about 20 seconds for him in this moment of silence. Stay tuned, guys. Hold on one second. We really, really appreciate, but we really, really are thinking about you guys. No real way to transition from that, but we had to do it. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to talk about our good friends, pay some bills around here before we get started, and none better than our good friends over at GM Varno & Sons. GM Varno & Sons has faithfully been serving your Denham Springs and Baton Rouge area for over 62 years. With their highly trained technicians, there's absolutely nothing that they can't do. RV repair, big rig overhauls, motorhome chassis, routine maintenance, tire rotations, tire sales. No job is too big or too small over at GM. Give them a call today at 225-664-9992. That's 225-664-9992. And tell them Blake Ruffino at AYS sent you on by. And our good friend, Mr. Richie Roche over at Roche's Lawn and Landscape, 225-937-7220. That's 225-937-7220. If you want the best looking yard in your they're damn sure going to give it to you. Again, that's 225-937-7220, and tell them your good friend, Mr. Blake Ruffino at AYS sent you on by. Okay, so we're going to do the hashtag Ask Blake in here too, but we're going to start off here. Let's talk a little football and a little spring, because there's some information that I got. I know that Ed Orgeron alluded to it, and we'll get to the comments. But Coach O alluded to this defensive line. And the more and more I hear some of these true freshmen that are coming in already making an impact, and some of the true freshmen that will come in that aren't even on campus yet, who we believe will have a huge impact for LSU. Let's start up front in the defensive line. Mason Smith, from what I understand, yes, he's got to get better in the running game. But when Ed Orgeron says that he is the best interior pass rusher, he's not joking. A lot of people are making a lot out of the offensive line. Hey, you can't handle Mason Smith. Well, it's not just Mason Smith that he's having to handle. I know a guy that was a freshman last year, and Jaquelin Roy and Tank Guillory, that are also two guys that will back up and be in that defensive tackle role. That is a big lineup that you have in the interior. Guys, you quite honestly have 3 5-star guys in the interior of your defense. Now you have B.J. Ojulari, Savion Jones, other guys. Yes, I know Savion Jones. I mean that B.J. Ojulari was there last year, but he gets that eligibility back. So not only do you have experienced guys like a Glenn Logan, Neil Farrell on that defensive line, you have a lot, Andre Anthony, Ali Gay, a lot of experience. Those guys in and of themselves are 5 junior seniors that can start along the defensive line. But let me list the second team, if you were in no specific order to put them in there, is you would have B.J. Ojulari at a defensive end, Jaquelin Roy, Mason Smith, a Tank Guillory in the inside. And you have a multitude of guys that can play the other defensive role. And Savion Jones is one of those guys who I think is going to come in and impact this LSU team very early on. Very early on. Something that someone inside the building told me today, I asked very vividly about Damone Clark, the linebacker, wears number 18, struggled a lot last season. I don't want to give you the exact quote because there's a little bit of explicits in there, but he told me that nobody in the linebacker room has made a bigger impact or shown a bigger impact than Damone Clark. And now you have a guy like Bug Strong, Navantique Strong, that's right there next to him. And my new favorite player on LSU, you already know who it is. Who? Mike Jones is going to be there too. Guys, we're just talking about the front 7. And yes, this is on paper. And there are a lot of holes that LSU got gashed with in the running game and a lot of bad things that we saw last season. But I don't think it's going to be there again. Because when I sit here and look and I see some of this film that LSU produces and LSU gives out, and I'm saying, man, that guy's running with the third team. Like, hey, that guy's running with the 2s. Hey, a true freshman, the number 1 player in the country, is going to be on the field on third downs because he's easily your best interior rusher. Oh, by the way, Jaquelin Roy, who had 2 sacks against Florida, and that offense from a season ago is still technically a freshman. Something feels a little off, not off, but something feels a little bit better for me. Now we're looking at the DBs. We'll start with the freshman because we're talking about freshmen that are coming in. Sage Ryan's not there yet, but Derek Davis is. And the way that I understand it is it looks like Derek Davis Jr. out of Pennsylvania is going to get the start in the spring game. Very candidly here, I don't give 2 really poos about a spring game. Am I interested to see what kind of things Jake Peets and Durante Jones run against one another? Absolutely. Like, I'm really interested to see how they attack one another. But here's a good thing, too, that I don't think a lot of people are talking about. Nobody on planet Earth knows what those 2 coordinators are going to run. That can make you very deadly. Yeah, well, Jake Peets wants to run the RPO game. There's a lot of different ways and formations and things that you can do in the RPO game. We don't have really an idea. Yeah, we know that there's going to be a 4 defensive line group for this defense for Durante Jones, but that's because you can't afford to take some of these defensive linemen out. You're going to take Jaquelin Roy out? Is that what you're going to do? You're going to take Jaquelin Roy out. Okay, that sounds great. They're going to have to be able to get to the quarterback only rushing 4. I think that they can do that. I really, really, really think that they can do that. So those are some things defensively. It continues to feel like to me that the more and more information I get from LSU is the simple nature that the defense looks much more improved. Well, Blake, they were 100th last year. They're got to be more improved. I got it. I'm with you. I get you. You better watch out, because even when you talk about corner, when you talk about Derek Stingley Jr., who's got to have a big year, and I think that he will, Elias Ricks, Dwight McGlothern, and as I've said before, I'm the CEO and chairman of the J Ward fan club. I heard that in the last Thursday little scrimmage, he had 2 interceptions. Might be one of the best moves that we've seen in a really long time. You know, the last time that a really talented corner that I can remember made the leap from corner to safety and had a big impact was Brandon Taylor. Like, to this extent, we'll see. So you could have some really good experience there. All right, let's get to a couple of these comments. Landon Benoit says, I'm so pissed off. Now we are going back on Coach O and trying to bring up old news that the public that is public knowledge. They're grasping now. If you guys don't know what Landon's referring to here, TigerRag.com put an article out talking about a restraining order that Ed Orgeron had in 1992. A restraining order. Guys, I'm sorry, but I agree with Landon here. Guys like Matt Moscona, Glenn Gilbo, whoever runs Tiger Rag magazine or whatever, whoever in the hell that Rudy Poo is. I mean, man, they're grasping at straws. You know, of all, and I don't mean this in a wrong way, but of all the people that Sharon Lewis, the woman who is suing LSU for $50 million, of all the people in that lawsuit she names, Scott Woodward, Les Miles, Miriam Seeger, Verge Alsbury, so on, Frank Wilson, so on. She doesn't put in that lawsuit Ed Orgeron. Why is that? Why is it that Sharon Lewis has filed a RICO suit on LSU, but Ed Orgeron's not in it? And then why turn around and say that Ed Orgeron needs to either, number one, testify? Look, if you want him to testify, these people are elected officials. They can do whatever they want, whatever. Not really whatever they want. You know what I'm getting at. If they want to subpoena him, whatever. But at the end of the day, put some gosh dog respect on that man's name. I am so sick and tired of coming out here and defending Ed Orgeron off of baseless, absolute bullshit. Let's get to some more good stuff. Let's talk some football and baseball. Gabrielle, what's up, Gabby? She says, "Sup, guys? Tigers and the Miners in the house. Since none of y'all know my name, go Tigers. Hashtag be like CJ. Yeah." And Craig says, "Great gesture, Blake. Be like CJ." Yeah, we're really thinking about them, man. I know we see a lot of comments. Darren says, "Prayers to Cedric Harris, his family. God bless. May they have some peace in this very difficult time." Yeah, we're really thinking about him. John says, "That's awesome, Blake. First class." I appreciate that, guys. We just need to remember them. I can't. Guys, you know when Ben runs in here, I can't. I can't even think. I can't. I can't bring myself there. I am praying for them. Wade says, "Keep hearing Stingley is having a great spring." Yeah, he is having a pretty damn good spring. You know what's funny is if you go back and look, there is some video clip of Miles Brennan, and you guys know that I've kind of gotten after Miles a little bit. He attacks Derek Stingley Jr. multiple times, and it's a no-fly zone right now. And look, he's going up against Kayshon Boutte. He's going up against number one wide receivers. Barring injury, we know what this kid did as a freshman. He's got some things he's got to clean up. He hears the noise about what happened with him and Devontae Smith. I think that Derek can really needs to have a good year and will have a good year. Guys, who are you going to throw it at? I mean, because now you have Elias Ricks, who has another year under his belt. You have Derek Stingley, or a year under his belt, and he's going to be a sophomore. Derek Stingley, this will be his third year. Guys, they got a lot of god dog talent on this defense. If LSU's defense does not improve and is not good, it won't be for a lack of talent. Lamar says that line is going to be monsters. Yeah, on the defense, guys, again, look at the second-team D-line. Everybody's freaking out. Oh, my God, why is the second-team O-line not doing good? Because the second-string defensive linemen are really guys that are going to be rotating and guys that could be starting. Tank Guillory and Mason Smith are the two defensive tackles on the second team. And people are asking me, oh, hey, why is Cardell Thomas struggling? Because he's getting his ass beat by Tank Guillory and Mason Smith and company. And that's not – and you know a guy that I didn't even throw out there that Ed Orgeron's talked about so glowingly is Joseph Evans. He said Joseph Evans has had the best camp for the D-line. Now, we've heard that before, but the guy – I mean, look, I'll go with Ed on that. All right, let's get a couple more before we get to Zach Pearson. Aaron Adams says, it's been a while since I've been this excited about LSU defense. Me too. Like, I'm really pumped. Look, I want to see what they do in the spring. I think it's going to be eye-opener to see it's not that big of a deal, right? Like, we remember in 19 when everybody's like, oh, well, they spread it out on LSU's offense, but they still were kind of subpar. And then 19, it just exploded. I kind of feel this way about the defense. Now, look, they're going to give up yards. They're going to give up points. Dominating defenses are dead. Remember the AYS Triple D. Juice Washington says Jay Ward will be an all-SEC player. Watch. I think that he certainly has the talent. He certainly has the talent. Peggy Red says they had talent last year, but, Lord, the communication with Pelini there was zero. Yeah, they had a lot of talent. Austin Thibodeau says, hashtag ask Blake, any word on the new running back rotation? We'll see as it continues to go on. John Emery and Ty Davis-Price came back this past week, and Thursday, Ty Davis-Price had a big day. TDP had two rushes where he busted off for 25 yards. He's a lot slimmer. So it looks like TDP is going to be running back one right now until you got Cordy Connor and Amari Goodwin coming in. Stephen Miller says Rico Suave. Yep. All right, last comment, then we're going to get to Zach Pearson. Kenny Russell says Matt Moscona needs to be fired. Trying to get Coach O fired pisses me off because I believe he's innocent. Well, guys, I've been preaching this for almost 2 weeks. Due process, man. Due process. I mean, he ran out there and said fire Coach O. You know, Gloria Scott's right, and then the audio said that she was extorting LSU for money. I didn't look, and here's I should have said this yesterday, but I forgot. A lot of people are saying in the media that LSU, what's the word that they used? LSU discredited Gloria Scott. No, Gloria Scott discredited Gloria Scott. Let's not get that twisted. Let's not get that twisted at all. All right, we're going to get to Zach Pearson. We have a lot of questions for Zach Pearson in here, so let's get to him. But before we get to that, guys, our segment with Zach Pearson is brought to you by John Adam, our home lending team. Guys, you got to get in touch with John if you're thinking about buying a new home. And as I know that Zach Pearson just bought him a new home, saving money on that mortgage that you have now, or even doing that cash out refi, the timing has never been better. Get in touch with John Patton from Area Home Lending today. If you mention this show, I know he'll send his team out for a free appraisal. Get in touch with him today again at 225-663-2500 and tell him Blake Ruffino at AYS sent you on by. It's been too long, dog. It's been too Rudy Poo long. How has my man been?
Oh, I've been great, dude. I've been great. I missed you guys.
Well, we missed you too. Zach, look, I'm going to give you the floor. You know, it's like the did you ever watch The Office, Zach?
Yeah, about 10 times.
Okay. So you remember the episode where Dwight lights the fire in the office for fire safety? And then Michael Scott runs out and says, "Okay, nobody panic. Everybody stay calm. I want to be that right now. It's really difficult. LSU baseball is 1-8, fourth in the SEC West. Take us through that. What are some things that you're seeing that you think that just tell me, what are you seeing?
Well, so I really wish they would have done better against Tennessee. I wasn't on last week, so we didn't get to talk about that series much. I thought they underperformed against Tennessee. I thought Vanderbilt just looked really good this weekend. I still don't think they're a bad team by any stretch. I know I see a lot of people jumping off the bandwagon right now. I'm not doing that. I really think they're a talented team. Losing Hill, obviously chops them off at the knees for how far I think they can really go. But as far as the rest of the season goes, I still think they can swing it with any Saturday matchup and any Sunday matchup that they have. I use those two games in particular because that's going to be what's about to change around, right? I mean, Marceau's not going anywhere for the time being. So I still think they can swing it with anybody. They put up good at bats against Leiter, who I truly thought was throwing his A game. We didn't have some Leiter up there on the mound who was throwing his C game and competing, and we were making mistakes hurt. No, this dude was crisp. He was clean, and we still put up 2 runs on him, which I don't know if any team can say. I don't think this.
No, Zach, they can't. They can't do it in over 95 innings, 2 runs.
Yeah, I mean that kid's remarkable, right? Now, and we were talking about this, during it and everything, but yeah, he's remarkable. Yes, we played well against a great player. We also allowed 11 runs. So even if we did blow that game open offensively, we probably lose the game, best case scenario, 11-10. So I think this team is really good. I still think their roster top to bottom is very competitive. I just don't think we've seen them play a complete game yet. I don't think we've seen them dominate offensively, defensively, and on the mound. We haven't seen all 3 pieces of this game click at the same time yet. We have these games where they swing it like crazy and the pitching staff allows way too much. We've had games where the pitching staff comes out crisp and clean and then our offense can't swing it. I still think this team has a chance to make a run right now, specifically at this point in the schedule. You're going to Kentucky. Coach Minge is over there. He's going to do his antics and all this and that. I still think LSU can go over there and take this series against a pretty good Kentucky team.
What do you mean very rudely? Tell us, what do you mean by antics? Give the people kind of a preview.
Well, I like Coach Minge a lot. Mississippi State recruited me out of JUCO whenever he was there. I really liked him. I really liked Butch Thompson, and I didn't have a problem with Coach Cohen until I went to LSU and then realized that that whole thing is just a clown show for a little while. So Butch Thompson and Minge, I mean, they're great coaches. They were underlings under Cohen, and Minge is kind of more of the character style. So right. He's gonna have his interviews where he makes his faces and his comments and everything like that. I like him. I think he's good for the sport, but he's more of an antics kind of guy than you have some coaches who are a little more like down and dirty, and then some who are a little more like playing it up. He's just one of those guys who plays it up. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's just his style.
The best comment, I'll have to find it. He did a press conference. They asked him a question about somebody hitting. He goes, "Who gives a shit?" That was funny. I'll give you that. Zach, I got to ask you this as a pitcher. And I see Stephen Miller ask this question. I'll just throw this question out there about hashtag Ask Zach. We talked about this. I don't know what Paul's line of thinking is running 4 guys out there hitting 200 or below. If you're out there pitching, what's your thought process, man? Hey, there's 4 guys in the lineup hitting below 200. I got to be crisp, and that puts a lot of pressure on Landon Marceau. Yeah. People are going to take the way that I say this wrong. That puts a lot of pressure on a Jaden Hill and could get somebody hurt. You mentioned on this show that switching pitchers could get somebody hurt, and God forbid, one of them did. Okay, I'm not saying that Paul did something wrong there. That's not what I'm saying. But as a pitcher, tell me, what would be your mindset of 4 guys in that lineup just not hitting below 200?
That's an interesting question because the fan side and the pitcher side, I think, are different because as a pitcher, I mean, every game you're going to allow 0 runs anyway. So I don't think it matters. You know, every time you're jogging out to the mound, you're like, okay, let me get these outs, and that's going to be the end of it. So from the pitcher side, I don't even know if you even look at that. But yeah, from a fan perspective, it does kind of raise an eyebrow to an extent because you're wondering, if we do have a pitching staff who's going to allow a few more runs, especially now without Jaden Hill, then maybe you do need more swinging. Maybe you do need more bruisers up there. I don't think the guys who can swing it really well, I don't think they're particularly bad on defense. So maybe you just roll with that and see, if we're going to take a hit to our pitching staff, we might as well swing with them.
Well,
this lineup is good enough to do that.
And look, to Craig's point here, he says despite a 1-8 SEC record, LSU has an RPI of 35, Zach. 35. And that just means that they played a lot of good teams. Look, Oral Roberts had a sweep 2 weeks ago that no one's talking about, and they got beat by LSU got beat by them. You talked about Jaden Hill. First off, what a horrible injury. Yeah. Zach, I should have asked you this. I knew that we were going to talk about it, but have you ever been around a guy that's been so talented that just had the worst luck whatsoever like Jaden Hill?
Yeah, and it's super unfortunate because, a guy like Jaden Hill, he's not a bad guy by any stretch. He's a great dude, a hardworking dude. He gets after it every day. That's just a guy who deserves to be out there. He deserves to be playing. He deserves to reap the benefits of his God-given ability plus his work ethic. And so it sucks. It always sucks when you see stuff like that because those guys, they don't deserve it, but injuries are part of the game of baseball and part of every sport. And it's just unfortunate, man. It's a really unfortunate way to be. That's why, not to make a joke about it, but that's why every time I play video games, I like to turn injuries off,
Bro,
we're going ones versus ones, and that's it.
Dude, people get mad at me when I do that too, but look, it's a video game. Like, I'm not trying to be realistic, right? Like,
and every fan wants that too. At the end of the day, like every fan wants to be like, no, I would rather beat a team on their A game and then say that we beat them, than sneak through a team who's on their third string guy. And then you always kind of have it in the back of your head, like, would we have beaten them or not? Like, would the Saints have beat Denver with a quarterback? We don't really know, like it's just one of those kind of things. I don't know.
Zach, I've been known to say this exact comment. What ifs don't mean two shits to me because what ifs aren't reality, right? Like it's just you're living in fantasy land. It's like we're playing Miles Morales Spider-Man over here. It's just not real reality, right? I'm with you there. Who do you think starts Sunday? Look, Blake Money came in against Vandy and really and look, and kind of yelled at Tim Corbin like, "Don't want to recruit me, bitch? Okay, I'll show you." And he's from Nashville. I would throw him out there Sunday, Zach. What do you think?
Loved it. I like having Money as like a go-to bullpen arm, just because he really has shown a lot of consistency. He showed some really good stuff on the mound. Man, I thought his game. He came in game 2, right? So it was Hill got hurt. They went to the other guy to the pen. I can't remember his name.
Alex Brady.
Brady. The door kind of got kicked open. And then, and then Money jumped out there and just completely doused the fire. I thought he was phenomenal, but I also like having him in the bullpen role for that exact situation, because he is a guy who can come in, eat up innings in like really crunch time situations. So I kind of like leaving him there. I did see Coach Maneri said something about I think it was Edwards texted him and was like, "I want it. Give it to me." You know what? You let him roll with it. That's how I feel. It's like, okay, I'll put that Bulldog on the mound and we see where it goes from here. You may have your bullpen arms. You may tell him before the game, while Edwards is warming up and he's not within earshot. You may tell him before the game, like, "Hey, everyone on your toes. Yeah, you may be ready at any moment." But if a kid wants that Bulldog mentality, let's see if he's real or not. I'm totally fine with giving him the chance. I'm assuming Labus goes up to Saturday.
Yep.
or game 2, I guess. I don't know what you'd want to call it. But I guess he goes up to Saturday. Actually, the way this week is set up, you don't really lose a day because game 3 was Saturday before Easter anyway. So he stays on his schedule, and then, yeah, man, you just piece it together. We might be Johnny Holstaffing it again, like for old time's sake.
Zach, take me through this because I'm assuming you've seen a pitcher get hurt and the time that you play baseball. You mentioned Alex Brady coming in, and then Blake Money comes in and shuts the door. Look, that's the kind of stuff that I think Paul's getting a little bit of pressure from. Do you think it's a little fair or at all that fans are kind of criticizing Paul in reference to this? They struggled in last season before COVID. They're struggling again now. What says you?
Yeah, that's tough because, so naturally you're not expecting to go to your bullpen in the second inning of game 2. So that part's really difficult. You throw Brady out there. I don't know. I can't say that I would have gone with Brady. But at the same time, you're not trying to use your late inning guys in the second inning because I don't know. It's a tough situation. You never prepared for an injury to your starter that early. From being in Brady's shoes, I think that's the worst position to be in baseball.
Absolutely.
Where they tell you have all the time you need, but you're like, I'm not going to take a 25-minute warm up. Like, there's no way. I'm not going to just blow all these minutes out here. So you're rushing to try and speed getting ready, and it's an awkward situation. I don't envy that spot at all. That's the worst to me. And then, I mean, credit Money for coming in, and I mean, in a really brutal situation. You're going up against a team who probably has the best pitcher in baseball at that time. He's on his A game, and the door just got kicked in. And he just came out and just shoved it right down Vandy's throats. He did well. So, I mean, I don't know. Do you go to Money first next time? Maybe. But maybe that's what you learned from this situation too.
Look, we're Monday morning quarterbacking a lot of things, and I get that. And LSU being 1-8 is literally not happened since the 1960s, so it's got fans a little bit up in arms, and I get that. Let's take a very quick side note here, and let's talk about Jack Leiter. From a durability standpoint, I don't know if I wouldn't go rocker. It feels like to me that Leiter puts so much torque on his body that I would be a little afraid if I'm drafting, if I don't take rocker. I do think rocker is going to wind up finding his way in the back end of a bullpen, like a Jansen and with the Dodgers. That's what I think. But Leiter is by far the best pitcher that the college baseball's seen in a long time. That's not really up for debate, is it?
Cool. No, I mean, what was his stretch right before? I think Cruz got the hit off of him, but right before that, he was at like 21 straight innings without a hit.
26.
26. Okay. See, even worse. Yeah, that guy's incredible. So I was talking to some family members about this at Easter, but he pitches in a way that you can tell he's probably extremely athletic. He probably can run. He probably can run pretty well. He probably can jump through the roof. He really sits into his legs really hard, and he doesn't lose velocity, so he doesn't lose effectiveness. But I really think it comes from the lower half. So if he's protecting the smaller joints in that throwing motion, like the whole kinetic chain thing from the ground up, he might be just as durable, just with a much smaller frame. One thing that I find really, really incredible was like I watched the last 2 innings of him throwing the no-hitter, and the last pitch of the game was like pitch number 120 something. It was 96 miles an hour.
Yeah,
that is insane. Like that's the same as his first and second inning velo. It's ridiculous. That guy. I mean, I think he's durable. I think he's just got a much smaller frame. And that's just playing devil's ad to what you said. I don't think you can really go wrong with either of those guys.
Right.
Because Rocker obviously has his pros also. It's incredible they have both those guys going 1 and 2. And I wish so if LSU had come out and gotten swept this weekend, but in game 1 and 2 being close games that you just lose to a team with really good pitchers, probably the first 2 picks in the draft, you just roll with that. I don't think fans would be that up in arms about this weekend. I think they'd say, well, shit, I mean, we fought really well against a very good opponent. And we lost 3 close ones. I don't think the 1-8 record looks as bad that way. The problem was we allowed like 25 runs in the first 2 games.
Right.
So it looks way worse. So yeah, I mean, I think from this point on, you have to just move on with April and you got to make a run. I think you can make a run here. I think this LSU team has the talent to go for 7 or 8 straight wins, but they have to piece it together. And they have to play a complete games. We'll see.
Zach, we made fun of the kid from Tennessee that started Friday night. You remember you tweeted in the most epic tweet of all time. I forget the kid's name, but you were like, that kid was supposed
Chad
to be
Dallas or something. I was like,
right,
his
it was
name?
Chad Dallas. And you said,
like, man, if anybody's named Chad Dallas, it is
dude. And what was the comment you said? The tweet, it was like, that's the hardest 91 miles an hour I've ever seen thrown in my life, or 90 miles an hour. That dude, but I know we made fun of Chad Dallas, but you know what? One thing that Chad Dallas had that no one could take away from him was confidence. And it seems to me that a lot of this, like, I like the Edwards kid running out there and says, give me the ball on Sunday. It's kind of like Will Ferrell in the movie. The other guy's like, get it, he just gat, you punk ass B. That's how my team needs that, right? Like, doesn't this team seem like they're kind of lacking some confidence?
I'm not sure if they're lacking confidence, but they're lacking they're definitely not showing that like bulldog fighter mentality. They're not showing, they haven't shown yet that they have a bunch of guys who want to step on the other team's throat. Like, they haven't shown that yet. And you cannot win games in the SEC unless you feel that way. Now, you don't have to show it in order to feel that way. So I don't want to say the guys don't have it. I'm just saying, like, I don't see a guy who's out there like, if you guys line up, I will fight every single one of you in a row. Like, you have to have a team where everyone feels that way. Or like I said, you cannot win in the SEC, because I guarantee those guys do feel that way, and they're very good baseball players.
You know who does have that? And then to rudely interrupt, you know who does have that is Blake Money. He comes out screaming off the mound, and then Doty hits a bomb off a guy that hasn't allowed a run in over 45 innings, Zach. 45 innings this kid hasn't allowed a run, and then Doty goes out there and hits a bomb. I think you're right. I think when he runs off the mound, and look, they're just doing the baseball antics, beating his chest, I'm with you. I just don't.
I'm a huge fan of that. I was always a high energy guy. I think it's good. I think it's really good especially from a reliever standpoint. I just think that, it's just the way the game should be played. But also, I can also say that the downside of that, the other side of the coin, is that sometimes I'll get myself in trouble by letting the motor run a little too much. And then, like, you'd have guys like Aaron Nola with just like perfect flat line the whole game. They were killers between the ears, but they just didn't show it. I mean, there's pros and cons to both, but I in particular love whenever relievers are just full fire. We used to have a strength coach that say he wanted our bullpen to be so fired up they felt like they could put out the fires of hell with a water gun. And that was just how I felt. That was just, it's just the way to play. I think it's the funnest way to play.
By the way, I talked to some people about Nola. Very quick story that Aaron Nola has the longest long toss in human history. Like, could be in the Guinness Book of World Records type shit.
You can see when guys can really throw, it comes through in their long toss, and it's about how they spin it. It buys that, that extra little bit of hop on the back end and stuff like that. What Nola would do that always blew my mind was he wouldn't move his feet, and he would still throw the ball across the field. So
my God.
He would start with like back leg planted and like a balance point position almost, and he would dip into his back leg and still throw it all the way across the outfield. That was always impressive to me. Another impressive long toss I saw one time in 14, we went to Vandy, and it was the Friday night game. Carson Fulmer came in relief, and he shoved it on us for 4 innings or so. We won the game 2-1 because it was 2-1 when he came in the game. And so that was just kind of how it finished. But he threw like 4 or 5 great innings against us. And then the next day when we showed up for batting practice, he was throwing foul pole to foul pole.
Oh
like
my
12
God.
hours later, because we were doing a doubleheader the next day, and that dude was just letting it rip. I was like, well, that guy's a different beast.
I don't understand. And I would be the guy that's standing next to Nola or Fulmer or something like that, like throwing it from second to third, kind of like with the side eye from Twitter, like, "Hey,
Oh, yeah.
what's up, buddy?" Like, but
You're pointing to your partner like this. You seeing this guy?
yeah,
Let him know. Oh my God.
like we had a guy, Aaron Maples, who went pitched at Southeastern, and he would throw the ball from me. Like, I know that you're not literally next to me, but from me to you, he would want to throw it 93 miles an hour, and I'm like, dude, I'm not throwing with you anymore. Like, this is intense. Okay, we're in high school. I'm warming up. I play first base. I get 3 throws an inning at max, and it's back to a pitcher. It's just not going to happen, bro. We have a question, quickly, Zach, before we get you out of here. Stephen Miller says, hashtag ask Zach, I know you weren't a hitter, but you hit bombs like Todd Peterson in high school. I know you did. But as quick as Leiter works, why didn't we see more hitters like calling time, trying to break a rhythm, laying bunts to try to take him out of that rhythm? Is that a head coach thing? Is that a Paul Maneri, Eddie Smith thing? Like, I think that's a good point because Leiter was just really in motion and rhythm, and it didn't seem like anyone tried to break it.
He was. And so to that point also, his pitch count was high because of strikeouts, but he was never behind in counts. Like, I feel
No,
like
he was
every
not.
time I looked up, it was 0-2 or 1-2. Like, that dude was straight attacking over and over. And I was even joking with my buddies that I was watching with. I was like, they should just close their eyes and swing because he's still in the strike zone.
Well, don't feel bad. That's what Alex Milazzo does every time he comes up to the plate anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
But I was like, man, I mean, he's in the zone. Like, he's in the strike zone. He's throwing hard fastballs. They have a lot of hop, but I don't know. I mean, I guess throwing him off his rhythm would be a good strategy. His pitch count was running up so much that I think they kind of knew it was going to be a short outing. But, I mean, I don't know. I feel like with a guy like that, you kind of go up there with the mentality of I'm trying to heat seek. I'm trying to attack right away because he's coming at you with fastballs. He's just really good pitcher.
Well, Zach,
so maybe that was
even in the first inning, they got the bases loaded with 1 out.
Yeah.
If you know that you're not going to get a hit, bunt that son of a bitch. I mean, I'm not trying to Monday morning quarterback, but you're not going to get many runs off that human being. Take a run from him. Like at least try to. But then you go out and back to back. He struck out the side, Zach, in 30 pitches. I mean, you got to do something to generate a run because you and I both know now. Here's something that it's even crazier. When he got punched in the mouth and Doty hit the bomb, he wasn't the same. You could tell he just wasn't the same. What does a run in the first inning do to a kid? Because we saw what it did to him when Doty hit a bomb. Those are the small things to me, Zach, that over time start adding up, right? Like I would have called a bunt right then and there.
And not to mention, so yeah, I do think it may have touched him a little bit because he hasn't been hit like that before. He hasn't had that absolute loud bat off of him. It hasn't happened prior to that moment. Now also consider the rest of the situation in general. You're in Baton Rouge. They still have Jordan Hill in this moment. The game is still tied unless he gets banged on in the first. This is a different situation than when he got hit late in the game with a big lead after the starter got hurt for the other team, right? It's a totally different scenario. So you're right. I mean, maybe if you show up, punch him in the mouth right away, you might let him know like this isn't the place for that. But
well, even too, Zach, he hasn't been around fans in a year and a half. He literally has not been in a stadium that's had fans in a year and a half. What does a roaring LSU crowd do when they get on their feet and start drinking beers and smoking cigarettes behind the dugout where no one, we're going to smoke these cigarettes behind with our mask on. Who gives a shit? I mean, we just put up a run against Leiter. Who gives a damn? I mean, that's the kind of small stuff that gets me. Zach, one last question. We'll get you out of here. LSU's got to go 15-6 to get above 500 in the SEC. You said that you think that this team has the skill players and the guys to get back on track. What do you want to see from them this weekend? What do you think Paul should tinker with the lineup or anything? What on game one, night one, what do you want to see?
Okay, so the theme of everything I've said today, I want to see a complete team outing, especially night one. You got Marceau, so the pitching staff isn't hindered by any means. You know, you got Marceau going out there. Jaden Hill's injury doesn't count Friday night. So I want to see a complete team outing. That's really what I want to see. This Kentucky team is a good team. They put it on Louisville last night. They had a really good showing last night.
A beatdown.
But they also got a beat down this weekend too. So
right.
So they're in a very similar situation to us, except I think Louisville might be a little bit better than McNeese. But aside from that, I do think they're in a similar position to us. I think we're able to come out and put it on them. I think you need a team approach Friday night. And then if you get that team approach Friday night, then all the stuff that Maneri tells the team for the last 3 months clicks. It's all the stuff of like, guys, we always do well when it warms up. We always do well when we move the chess pieces at the beginning, and then it always clicks at the end. That's the whole running theme of everything. Like, we're going to be great when we need to be great. That's how it always is. That's how it was both years I was there. That's how they talked about it the years before I was there and the years since. But you still have to have people show up and do it. So you still need that full team approach. I think that's the main thing that I want to see. Can you show up? Can you put together a very competitive game one on the road against a good team that you should be beating? I think that's what hurt them in the Tennessee series. I think Tennessee's a little better than we thought going in, but also I still think they were good enough for us to play with. Couple tough breaks in that weekend, but really you got punched in the mouth in game one is really what happened. And so I want to see this team show up like, well, we're not doing that again this weekend. Mississippi State's a very good baseball team. Vandy's a very good baseball team. You still got Arkansas. You still got Ole Miss. You know, you still have very good baseball teams on the schedule coming up. These are the weekends you really have to come out and show what you're made of. You know, you have to get the ball rolling now for momentum's sake, for confidence sake, for all of it. It has to start now. And last night could have been the start of it, but I want to see that. And then finally, maybe like point A, B, C or whatever, I want to see, you know, if our pitching staff is going to take hits, like we mentioned earlier, let's roll with an offensive lineup. Let's just see what happens. Let's swing the shit out of it. Let's see if we bang with people, come and get us. I don't know.
Bang.
Bang. Yeah.
Maybe next week we'll get into, is pitching, different, is hitting different. But, I wanted to ask you the question, so many different questions of, do you have to score a lot of runs to win? But then you see Coleman Rocker and then Jack Leiter, and you're like, well, shit, I can't say that. I mean, you just got dominated last weekend, so we'll see. But, Zach, we greatly appreciate you joining the show, man. We'll talk to you again soon. Hopefully we're not angry texting during the weekend about some LSU baseball.
We won't be. I'm speaking it into existence now. That ball's going to get rolling. It's April. It always happens.
All right, man. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good night. All right, that is former LSU pitcher, Mr. Zach Pearson. We got a lot of comments to get into. Paul Escon said something here. He said swagger starts at the top, and Paul Maneri does not have it. When you're supposed to be a leader and you have his attitude, that's not good. Yeah, this team needs swagger from somewhere. It needs swagger from somewhere. I wanted to really get into some more football talk. Mike asked on YouTube, did Alex Adams move back to wide receiver? He did. At least he was yesterday. He was yesterday. So we'll see. Maybe we'll talk some more. Let's just do this. Let's do a whole football talk tomorrow and get into it, because I feel like as much as been off the field stuff and off the field shit, we have not been able to talk about on the field stuff, which has been extremely frustrating. So we'll do that. We'll end it here. We greatly appreciate Zach Pearson for joining the show. We'll end it here, and then we'll get back into talking to some football tomorrow. But until then, guys, y'all have a good night. Rest in peace to CJ Harris, and we really are praying for their family. Until then, we'll see y'all tomorrow. Have a good night.